Hello, welcome back to my channel. Okay, so pile one, let's get started for your reading. At the top card with the heart, you have, if only you knew the level to which this person admires you, you have no idea. Okay, now we're going to be starting from left to right. So the first card is, that's in reverse, the answer you seek resides in the rock's arch of history. Now that's in reverse, so I took it as the answer that you're seeking resides in like the present moment, like right now, right? So for the butterfly card, you have inspiration, and it says, your heart creates harmony for the lost. It's time to be seen so they can be found. The next card is, show up and show out in the room they swore they blocked you from, and walk gracefully past the gatekeepers you're firing upon arrival, and do it with a smile. Okay. Okay, pile one. Okay, the fourth card is, be upset all you want. I'm not quitting on us. I'll fight anyone for you. All right, so this card is like I want to say an influential card. So this person, whoever this person is highly influential, and they are letting you know that something is not over between the two of you. Okay. And the last card on the top row with the owl says, needle in a time stack, which that's actually a movie that we will talk about. That's very interesting that came out. Okay, bottom row. You can't possibly tell me you love this person, but it's in reverse. So the opposite of love is hate. So it's like, you can't possibly tell me that you hate this person. Whoa. Okay. The next card is, there is a presence on the land that needs permission to leave. Let it go and you'll see change in revenue. But that's in reverse. So whatever this presence is has been removed. Okay. The next card is the House of Bliss Forever, Redemption. And the second to last card, it says, get some rest for now. It's been a long time coming. Safe travels are forever ahead. And the last card, which is the Divine Union card, says, this heart beats for you all over the world. So I'm trying to figure out how to go about this reading, because I know I tend to jump, and sometimes I want to take my time with the first section, second section, and the last section. But I find that when I don't jump, the message could be scattered, versus when I do. I hope that makes sense. So I want to talk about Needle in a Time Stack, the movie. So this guy, he's with his, divine counterpart, and every time they live in a time where whenever somebody who can control time shifts the timeline, there's a possibility that they will either remember or forget that they are with their divine counterpart. So anywho, the timeline kept shifting, and he realized, or the guy realized who was doing it. And so he had a meeting with his former friend, right? Because it was like a whole love triangle, because the friend, or a former friend, was with his now wife, and he wanted his ex back. His former friend wanted his ex back, which is his wife. So he kept shifting timelines in order to make them forget about each other, so he could end up back with her. So pretty much he was trying to manipulate the past, manipulate the future, and also the present to ensure that he would be with her, not realizing that he kept shifting everything to the point it was becoming chaotic, right? So there was one day they decided to just get away from everything, all the hustle and bustle of their day to day, and take a trip and what have you. Right before they're about to take this trip and they're about to go somewhere, the former friend shifts the time again, but this time he shifts it in such a way where not only are they miles away from each other, but over time they forget about each other, right? So, and he pretty much takes the time to try to figure out where she is or try to find her, like where she's located. And he goes through trial and tribulation after trial and tribulation, right? And so there's one day where he shifts and he's with somebody else, and he knows that that's not his divine counterpart, but the woman knows him as the person that she's been with for years, and they've been married for years. So he's still trying to find his original counterpart. So after a while, with each passing day that he does not find her, he starts to forget that she exists, right? And so there was a moment where he just completely forgot about her, and he was like looking, like living the life that was destined, or what appeared to be destined for him. So in the midst of that, there were clues and indications of his original divine counterpart. She kept appearing within like the time lapses, but he had no idea who she was. So there was this thing in the movie where you can go back in time and you could fix something in that time, but when you come back to the present moment, it'll change your whole future. So what he was willing to do was he was willing to go back in time, but it cost him his whole life, pretty much. His whole life savings. It cost him his whole life, like, that he had with his wife, his now new wife. It cost him everything, right? So he did it, and he came back into a present moment. But before he went back into the present moment, he went back in the past, and he pretty much told his friend, the former friend that kept shifting things around because he was angry and resentful in, that past, that, his friends loved him and wanted to support him no matter what he did, as long as he was happy. They weren't just friends with him because he had a lot of money. And so that conversation that was never had in the past before automatically shifted something. So what he did before, and he only had 24 hours to do it, right? So literally one day can be significant for you. So what he did was, he, on top of doing that, saying that to his friend, letting him know, like, we don't care about your money, we just want to make sure you're happy, he went to his past self, and he went to his past self's address, and he wrote a letter to himself. And he said, I know it feels like, like you're lonely, but, take your time and wait for her. She's perfect. She's everything, right? And so after he did that, he came now back into the present moment, and he was having a conversation with his sister. And he asked his sister, he said, have I always been this sad, or have I always been this depressed? And, the sister tells him that she's worried about him. Long story short, the friend that was the former friend was no longer the former friend. It was his best friend in that, that present moment, that present future. And he was having a birthday party and wanted him to come out. So he came out to the birthday party, and his best friend told him, had it not been for that conversation, I wouldn't have been, brave enough to tell my father that I didn't want to take over the business, and that, I wasn't happy, but now I'm happy. I have a small business of my own. And his wife, his new counterpart that he knew was not his counterpart, but became his counterpart because of the time shift, bear with me, was now his best friend's wife in that future moment. So that was his wife now. So he had one drink and he was about to leave the party, but the camera starts flashing, right? And somebody bumps him like really hard. And he turned back to look at the guy who bumped him, but he couldn't help but notice the woman that was taking the picture. And the woman that was taking the picture was actually his divine counterpart. So I don't know how that's going to resonate, but you will take where it fits in your life. Okay, so now, needle in a time stack. Coming back to the beginning, right? There is a part of you where I see there could be some sort of harboring resentment. It's like you can't possibly tell me you love this person in reverse, and the answer you seek resides in the present. So it's like you can't, I feel like this is yourself telling you you can't possibly like hate the person that you have become because of your past, or because of what you wanted to change to make a better future or a better present where you resonate with it, right? So what's happening is a lot of past experiences has not only, I don't want to say mold, right? It hasn't molded your future, but it has made you somebody who is, it's like your heart, you have more compassion for everything that you do, everything that you create, right? Which brings harmony. And because of this harmony that you have found within yourself, it allows you to help others who feel lost, or who feel like they're in a constant loop, or they're in a constant time lapse that they don't know how to get out of, or they don't know how to just exist in, right? And so I feel like this energy, or like if something was over your heart where it was just like you couldn't believe the person that you've become, or you couldn't believe how drastically you've changed, right? Where before you were seeing it as a sense of like this change was, you were apprehensive to it. Now you're seeing it from a new pair of eyes. You're seeing it from a sense of like, okay, this part of you may not exist anymore, but it's because of the part of you that doesn't exist anymore is making you a much better person, or it's making you that much more of a healer, right? To the world, and not only to the world, but to yourself. And so it makes me think about that song from Tanarelli. It's called Her, I believe, or For Her. And in the song, she goes, how can I be upset with the person I wish, like the person I now see as a stranger? Like we're strangers now, right? And I believe in that moment she's talking about herself. It's just like the person who she was in the past, the person that did not know that she was going to be as successful as she is. It's like she didn't know that this was going to happen, or she didn't know that she was going to transform into this great artist that's well known around the world. So it's like she couldn't be mad with the person she used to be that didn't know. So I say that to say you can't be mad with the part of yourself that didn't know you'd come this far, and not only come this far, but you'd heal so many other people in the process and heal yourself. Okay, so let's see. Show up in the room. Show up and show out in the room they swore they blocked you from, and the house of bliss forever, redemption. You know, you could have faced a point in time, like needle in a time stack, right? Pretty much that former friend, before he became the best friend, he was blackballing him. So maybe you're somebody who experienced the level of like being blackballed or blacklisted, or somebody saw you as somebody who would not be fit, or locked out forever in like the gates to your success, or the gates to your happiness. And mind you, I say the gates to your success, right? So this is something that was always meant for you. And this was something you were deserving of having, right? And it's just like the level of admiration that you have because you didn't give up on yourself, right? Because you were willing to change your past views on who you used to be, or change your views on who you want to be in this present moment and who you're becoming in the future. That was everything, right? So it's like I feel like this is more of like a congratulations kind of read. Like, congratulations for how far you've come and everything you've done in order to get here, in order to get to this moment. And knowing that you're going to replace the people who thought that they canceled you out. Like, the people who they swore up and down all they needed to do was just call a few people, make a few connections, and get you removed completely. You no longer have to deal with those people, right? Because it's just like, now you're in a position of power, and you can, and not to say it in a cynical way, but you can pretty much do whatever you want with that power. Like, that's how hard you've worked on yourself. And you can put them in any sort of position you want to, right? But it's up to you. So now, the be upset all you want. I'm not quitting on us. I'll fight anyone for you and get some rest. So I feel like this is giving me energy that somebody could be watching you from a distance, or this could be I don't want to say somebody, how do I put this? It's like, not somebody from the past, but somebody from like, I'm thinking about needle in a time stack. So somebody from a future past or future present that knows that something's not going to work out quite the way it was supposed to in love between the two of you. This person, I feel like they've been watching you, and I feel like they want to propose something to you, or they want to travel towards you. Safe travels are forever ahead, right? It's been a long time coming. So this could possibly also be a reunion between two people. Like, the judgment is you have the power to reunite, right, with the many souls that you thought you lost, or you have the power to reunite the many parts of yourself you thought you lost with those soul contracts. Either way, like, the decision is up to you. But I do want to get a clarifier for these two. Well, okay, so it's just a matter of showing up. Like, you see, like how I said in the beginning with needle and the time stack, you see how the man showed up for his former friend in order to turn him into a best friend, and you see how he showed up for his past self in order to, protect the union of his future self. It's like that. It's like showing up in such a way where it's going to be a win-win situation for you and everyone involved, because you're no longer operating from a space of ego, but you're operating from a space of healing, or being healed, or have healed, right? So let's see. The card that came out was, you are destined to build this empire. So stop thinking at a franchise level. Connectivity and expertise is key here. Yeah. And at the bottom of the deck, it says, it's time to let yourself be reborn and cleansed again. I cannot make this up. This is an amazing reading. I feel like, I don't want to be redundant and repetitious, but it's like, you are the key. You have the power to do what needs to be done in order to fix everything. Like, you're the needle in the haystack. You're the needle in the time stack. Okay? And that is your reading. Hope you enjoyed. Bye. Okay, hey pal too. So I still don't have an opening yet, so just bear with me. So as you see from the setup of your cards, there's 1 at the top and then there's 10 under the top card. So let's begin. The first card is, talk about Daniel in the lion's den. Okay. The first card under that one is, the element of soul is required. Second card is, happiness, joy, and everything in one. Everything you've ever wanted, manifestations and blessings. Really good karma. Third card is always remember you are someone's dream partner in life. The fourth one is God has expanded their lifespan so they can stay and love you a little longer. And the fifth one is sometimes you got to throw caution to the wind and just face your fears. Okay. For the second row, you have rally and support no matter the skin color, right? Then you have talk about Esther. Then you have the Theseus card, which is love for the greater good requires the loss of many great loves. And for the last two there, which are my military cards, it says talk about the master that came to Jesus and asked about eternal life and give up everything you have, higher position. And then the last card is you made the right decision for yourself as well as others, as well as the others that were involved. Okay, so you could be somebody of a Christian faith because I have Daniel, I have Esther. So maybe you could have been born into Christianity, or that's your choice of religion, or maybe that is the religion that was passed out to you through your family line. So let's see. Element of soul required. So when I was doing your reading, or when I was shuffling your cards, there was two cards that dropped on the floor. One was a trophy card, and there was another card about, I forgot what it said. So many cards in this deck, but two cards dropped, right? And well, one card dropped actually. And I was fixated on the floor, right? I was fixated on the other side of the floor, not where the cards actually dropped, or the card actually dropped. So I took that as in reference to having falling, right? Like when you fall or you take a hit or you take a demotion in some way, shape, or form, you think about what you lost. Like I get that this person or this pile is thinking about what they've lost rather than the fact that they were able to still get up, right? And that was another card. That was the card that fell on the floor. Was talk about Jesus and a 38-year-old man who was considered somebody of insignificance, and Jesus told him to take up his mat and walk. So that was the card that fell on the floor. But focusing on things that have hit the ground, like the inevitable, right? Okay, so let's get started on your reading. I had to ask at the very beginning, when it said talk about Daniel in the lion's den, I had to figure out where you were, and the part that you're up to in that story of Daniel in the lion's den is when the king throws you. Just bear with me. Let's put it in a particular frame. But the king could be your boss, could be anybody, could be your boss, could be God, whoever you consider to be way above you, throws you into the lion's den, right? And says to you, may your God protect you. Okay? So you could be dealing with a boss that maybe is not religious, or they don't believe in a higher power because of how powerful they are. So, but like in Daniel in the lion's den, he comes out the next day. The king cannot sleep because of what he did to Daniel, which is his best worker, right? So he took it upon himself to find out where Daniel was, or if Daniel survived where he was. So I don't know, location could be a thing for you, but he took it upon himself to find out if Daniel was still alive after he threw him into the lion's den. And I talked about this in a previous reading, but it's like the level of diplomacy Daniel had, where he came out of the lion's den. He wasn't filled with any anger or resentment in his heart, but he let the king know that God had sent an angel to watch over him. And so that was the only reason he was able to survive the lion's den. And so after realizing that, the king, he had no choice, but he was so convinced that there was a power much greater than him that God had to have been real, right? Because it's like, how would Daniel survive being thrown into the lion's den and then locked in there, right? So, and I think of the lion's den as an idea of going into the like dangerous unknown. Like, it's very dangerous territories. You don't know what's going to happen, right? But knowing that you are divinely protected. So maybe you have to know that you're divinely protected, and let's say you're in the midst of something where it's just like, you don't know if you're going to come out of this alive, right? But you coming out of this alive, are you doing this effective, or are you doing this job effectively, or having angels watching over you effectively, allows your boss or whoever is higher than you to believe that, there has to be a higher force, because this person should have been gone already. So I want to clarify the element of soul required and rally and support no matter the skin color. Man, that hit the floor again. Oh no, it didn't. Hold on, guys. Okay, so the card that fell was, this queen is on a rampage. Use that to your advantage. It's lucrative and makes a statement. Apply pressure, push buttons, make a scene, they'll catch on. Checkmate. But this is in reverse, right? So again, the level of diplomacy here, like something has to be done with much caution. Every time you walk into a room, all they see is divine light. Yeah. No matter the skin color. Like, somebody knows. Okay, so you could be dealing with some form of racism at work. Somebody knows that you are out of this world protected. Like, let's say you're dealing with somebody who's a really powerful decision maker, right? And this really powerful decision maker wants to just scare you half to death, right? And each time they try to scare you half to death, you're just like, oh, like you're not even fazed by it. You don't even jump. You don't flinch. You don't, oh, I have to do what? Like, you go through the motions, right? This person is like, this person knows, like, okay, there's something to this person to where they're coming out of every, I wanted to say mission. It's like every mission that I send them into, or they're coming out of every circumstance unscathed, unharmed. Like, what is this? And they're not realizing that this is your divine protection. In a word, at the bottom of the deck it says, in a world full of birds, be the eagle, stay sharp and listen. So seeing something from a higher viewpoint, right? A higher perspective. Maybe this person just wanted you to be angry. Like who was when you think about Daniel in the lion's den, who was expecting him to come out and say praises to the king, glory to the king, right? Nobody. It's just like anybody coming out of the den that's put in Daniel's position is going to be on some, you threw me in the den, that's it. I don't want to work for you anymore. No, something. Something to where it's just like, you can tell the king about, you can tell the king about himself, right? He had the power to really go off on this king. But he said, I'm going to take like a diplomatic approach. So every time you take a diplomatic approach, this person is realizing it does not pay to go against you, right? Just because you are of a certain skin tone. Like, you get the job done, you're effective at what you do, and it should just be that. It should just be that concern. Can you do the job? They know you can do the job. It's not, can you do the job, but you would be better if you did the job and you were a certain skin complexion. You know what I mean? So definitely some racism here. So let's see. Happiness and joy and everything. And one you ever wanted, manifestations. And really good blessings, really good karma. Okay, talk about Esther, the most beautiful woman. So, interesting. Okay, so there's somebody that's considered like the most beautiful woman in all of the land, right? Let's say. And Esther was extremely beautiful. But what I like about the book of Esther is that she's extremely smart. She's extremely strategic to the point she knows how to attract the king. Even the things that she did not know how to do. Like, how do you attract the king? What fragrances do you use? Like, how do you present yourself, right? And even then, because I'm thinking about when I saw a movie, one of the many depictions of the book of Esther. But when I saw it, there was a king who was spying on Esther. He was down to 2 women that he was going to select, right? Which we all know, like if you read the book. But if you didn't, it's really good. You should check it out. You should check it out. But it's down to 2 women. And so the king is spying on Esther, right? So he puts in this movie, or the rendition of Esther, he puts these 2 women in a room. And he's spying on the both of them. Now, one is, she's beautiful, but the confidence is not there, right? And the confidence is not there because of who she's coming from, the family line that she's coming from. And who she's coming from, which if you know, you know, her purpose is to serve the king. But not even her father saw her as fit to be with the king. He just wanted the power, right? So then in the movie, this woman tells Esther, you know, Esther, if I don't win the king's hand, my father told me don't even come back home because he would completely disown me. And Esther says, you know what? In the movie, I'm just going off the movie, not the actual book, guys. But in the movie, Esther goes, I'm sorry that that's going to happen to you. She said, but you know what? It doesn't have to, because if I'm selected queen, I would have you as my right hand. And from there, the king knew who to choose, because the level of compassion Esther showed this woman was just like, blew him away, right? So, something in regards to you, maybe you are faced with making a choice between 2 or multiple women, and you are looking for the person that just brings you that level of genuine happiness, joy, and everything. There's somebody also here. I feel like you have been manifesting in Esther in human form, right? Because we know the Bible is a very spiritual book. So, but you're manifesting somebody with beauty and brains. Okay, so where's my... really good karma. And of course, Esther was really good karma for the king because of who she was, but she was also really good karma for the people, right? So those who bathe in, okay, so the card that came out it's another military card. It said, those who bathe in water change clothes. Those who bathe in blood change history. So, and I got that originally from, that saying is a saying in Hinduism, right? And I learned that from watching the David Blaine Netflix special, when he was learning how to do like different tricks and what have you. And so one of the magic tricks he was learning is he had to smash a glass bottle at a certain angle with his head and break the bottle without actually making himself bleed. And his next trick he was supposed to learn was how to walk on glass. But pretty much he's a well-known magician, right? So you are looking for somebody who is not just beautiful, they're not just smart, they don't just give you a level of happiness, but you know this person has the power, and because of the position that they have, they will make history and they will change history for the better. Because had it not been for Esther, those Jews would have been slaughtered, right? So, and it's a mindset thing, because she said fast. Well, I don't want to get too deep because, but that's who you're looking for, and that's who you're choosing between. You're trying to find, it's like trying to find the perfect fit. And I feel like you're manifesting the perfect fit. You're manifesting your definition of Esther. So remember, always remember, you are somebody's dream partner, and life and love for the greater good requires the loss of many great loves. And that's under Daniel in the Lion's Den. So it's uncharted territory in regards to love. I don't think I'm talking to somebody that's like, I feel like I'm not talking to somebody that's single. I feel like I'm talking to somebody who has many relationships, right? A variety of relationships, any type of relationship they want. But to a lot of people, you're always going to be their idea of the dream, the fantasy fulfilled, right? If you will. So, but it's like taking a risk of, and I think this is where your spirituality, and I feel like your religion, they tend to, it's like they're coexisting, but they're also colliding or clashing. Like colliding to the point it's clashing at the same time, because of the views you were raised on versus your perception of the views now that you're older, versus how is this going to look for the future? How is this going to be for the future? Having loved and lost. So it's like when you fell in love, right? You fell in love with someone, or you fell in love with a particular person. That requires you now falling out of love with the idea of you can keep falling in love with different people, right? It's like when you come across a person you know speaks to you, like on a soul level, every type of level. And it's just like, in order to attain that level of love and that level of unconditional love, you have to release yourself from the idea that you're only deserving of conditional love, surface love, circumstantial love. This is happening because we are in a relationship, because all logic love, right? You have to just release that. And it may be hard to do. So clarify these two cards. Whoa. Okay, so the card that came out was, it's either you or them. I'm glad you chose you. And I have a certain song that came out for this group, but I'm going to list all the songs that came out for each pile, because I think it will be like better. It would make more sense. But you're choosing it's like choosing the love of your life versus somebody seeing you as the love of their life, right? You're choosing what really calls to you, but not without a fight. Not without a fight between self, and not without a fight between tradition, and not without a fight or opposition from family, close friends. It's like everything changes the trajectory of your life and all parties involved, it changes because you're going to make the decision or because you have already made the decision. So God has expanded. I feel like this is separate. And also with your reading, I picked up a few things. I picked up love, I picked up business, and I picked up a sense of like brotherhood, right? And I said, is there any other way to say this? Because I feel like saying brotherhood in a certain context could be taken the wrong way, but that's the only word that comes up for me. So you have 2 military cards and you have highly influential cards, like 2 highly influential people cards. This is decision maker cards, right? So this is what makes me think about about a brotherhood. So I'm going to separate this from the rest of the pile and I'm going to talk about it. So maybe you actually have a physical brother, or this could be somebody you consider a brother, right? This is a very close bond with somebody. Expanding the lifespan. So it's like God has given somebody a second chance at life just so they can be around you a little while longer. And I feel maybe this person had a condition where it's like they only had a few months to live. Like let's say, and for example, right? Let's say that this person only had 3 months to live. 3 months turned into 5 months. 5 months turned into 8 months. 8 months turned into a year. 12 years later, this person has a certain set of months to live, right? And so I feel like there is a part of you that you're being shown reasons to believe in a higher power, because where somebody would have just lost their life or where somebody would have already passed on, they're still living. And they're still living and they can still be around you longer, right? Because I feel like this person is also a guide for you, or you turn to this person a lot whenever you're thinking about like making major decisions in your personal life, right? So the fact that this is under talk about the master that came to Jesus and asked about eternal life. So it's one of my favorite parts of the Bible simply because the man comes up to Jesus and is like, oh, good master, right? And one of the first things Jesus says is, what makes you think I'm good, right? And it's just like, you think I'm good? Why? Because I follow the rules. But it was one of the most authentic moments of the Messiah. It's just like, what is considered good? What's considered evil, right? So he wanted to know how to obtain eternal life. And he was just like, oh, give up everything you have, and take up your cross and follow me, right? But it's just like, he didn't want to do it because he didn't want to release his possessions. So this could be something to where, and I'm going to put it, since it's a higher position, right? Let's say you are, because I don't feel like this is like small time stuff, but let's say you're somebody who's in charge of doing how do I put this without, because I have to be very particular. I feel like this is very specific. Let's say, because I like planes, right? And I saw a documentary on an AC-17. So let's say, even though, bear with me here, I'm trying so hard to put the two together. But let's say on this AC-17, you're used to working in the back, right? And you work in the back of this AC-17 to prep everything that needs to be prepped before it takes off in flight, right? And you're used to working with a certain group of people, and like you're set that these are your people for life. That's it. You don't want to work with anybody else. You don't want to do anything else. The boss wants to promote you. And now where you're working in the back, which I forgot the terminology, bear with me. Where you're working in the back of the ship, or in the ship, well, where you're working in the back of the plane, you're now working in the front, right? But in order to work in the front of the plane, it now requires you to release everyone you worked with in the back. I mean, they're still a part of the team. It's just you're not working so closely with them, if that makes sense, right? So this is talking about in order to reach that higher level position, you have to give up this idea that you're always supposed to be the person working in the back, or you're always supposed to be the background guy, right? I mean, that's how it feels. So, clarify this thing. Okay. I don't know why I said shit. But okay, so the card that came out was, everyone is rich until you put that paper underwater and those deeds in some fire. Whoa. Okay, so I'm not going to go further than this because I don't know who you are and I don't want you tracking me down thinking like I'm, So I feel like you're going to get that. I'm going to repeat it again. Everyone is rich until you put that paper underwater and those deeds in some fire. All I'm going to say. I think that's all I need to say in regards to that. So sometimes you got to throw caution to the wind and just face your fears, and you made the right decision. So this reading ends with, whatever you did in the midst of being in some deadly unknown territory, the lion's den, whatever you consider to be the lion's den, whatever you did, however you came out unscathed, you made the right decision for yourself as well as others that were involved. So you did the right thing. But I think it took a lot to do it. People don't realize sometimes it takes a lot out of a person in order for that person to do the right thing, right? Sometimes they feel like they lose a lot more than they gained when they did the right thing. So you have to know you made the right decision. Okay, that's your reading. Bye. Okay, pile 3. So going into your reading. Wait, hold on a second. Okay, sorry about that. I need some water. Hydration is key, But your first card is, step down and resign respectfully before things get out of hand, and you have to answer questions you never intended to. Okay. First card. You are the light in the dark. Yeah, babe. It's a yes. So, confirmation for something. Next card. They are meant to protect you and you are meant to heal them. Third card, you are meant to be seen. It's okay to step off of your G7500 and introduce yourself. So, okay. Introduce yourself. Next card. Even though it was not clear what happened, you are not wrong. Okay, so no one can stop you from living. It's time to dream and achieve. All right, so the second row is, this secret admirer is in love and looking out for you. Okay, it's in the details. Well, that was self-explanatory. Next card. Experience is life-saving. Talk about 24 minutes. And the last 2 cards are, I regret the things that I said to you. Can you ever forgive me? and you are your only prison. Gently open the door and set yourself free. So you made a decision. I feel like, again, this is another decision maker, but I feel like you made a decision against somebody else that you highly respect, and to the point they thought that you were going against them, but really you were allowing them to see their own strengths and their own capabilities. But sometimes that's hard when a person thinks they've built such a great rapport with you, and you put them in a line of fire, and it's just like, well, why would you put me in a line of fire if you and I have such a great relationship? They don't realize you did it for their benefit, but I feel like now they are. And so they're wondering if whatever they said in the heat of the moments, like when they were extremely angry and they thought you were just taking your frustrations out on them, can you forgive them, right? Now that they're seeing something from a higher perspective. For this group, I got the song The Script. It's from the artist. This is from the artist or the group called The Script, and the song is called Break Even, right? And it talked about being heartbroken. Now, when I listened to the song, I felt like I described it to myself as a knot in my heart chakra, but it was like the knot was so suppressed that even though I felt the emotions of wanting to cry and wanting to like ask a whole bunch of questions, I didn't. So it's just like something was. So you could have made this decision, right? Let's say you sent your best worker out to do something and you knew it was like something dangerous, right? It could have cost them their life. And all the while they're thinking you're doing it because you're personally attacking them, not realizing that you're doing it for them to understand that their strengths. And all the while you're trying to get them to understand their strengths, you're dealing with something like personal, like your relationship, like your heart is breaking, right? It's like your heart is breaking that you have to send them out there, and then your heart is breaking because somebody broke your heart. And it's just like having to deal with all that at once. But there was such a suppression that I felt like I couldn't, like no matter how much I wanted to, I could not express emotions, right? It was just like I just had to save my face. Even though I'm in the comfort of my own home, I had to save my face through and through and through. So you're somebody who has to, like, you deal with like a lot of high risk situations, but you have to save face. Like you can't show that you're hurting, or you can't show that you're just trying to make somebody better, right? So somebody admires you for that. And I'm going to say you could be admiring somebody for like the level of decisions that they have to make. No, it's not the same, right? But the concept is like, the base is there. It's like you have to make certain decisions that are going to weigh on you. It could weigh on you for a day. It could weigh on you for a year. It could weigh on you for the rest of your life, right? But it's going to weigh on you. And so somebody could be looking at you with a new pair of eyes, like somebody's looking at you with a sense of like, I thought you were just mean just to be mean, or I thought you were just rude just to be rude, not realizing that you were just doing this because you really admired me, or you were really admiring someone. So clarify this. Okay, so we have a typical owl, true owl. My owl card, it's like a pink card with owls on it, multiple owls on it if you look close enough. So first delegate, then divide, then subtract. Even Einstein had twice as many solutions to his problems. You can see the benefit of some, like, okay. I feel like these readings get repetitious, but you can see the benefit of doing something for the greater good of someone, or doing something because you have admiration and respect for someone. You see the benefit, like you see the overall benefit, right? It's a win-win situation. Something is a win-win. Okay. So what do I need to clarify for you? Because I feel like you already know everything you're seeking, like every answer you're seeking. So what is it really? Okay, experience is life-saving. Talk about 24 minutes. Can we clarify this, please? Well, many sacrifices, many secrets, many regrets, but no one loves the way you do. Okay, so the 24 minutes is about, I stated this in a previous reading also, white underbelly. Okay. White underbelly was interviewing a woman who takes a certain substance of drug to relax her. And when she takes this substance of drug, I don't know if you can say the drug substance on YouTube, so I'm not going to, put it out there. But when she takes this certain substance, she gets calm and mellow. She's relaxed, right? However, what led to her using that substance was from the time she was young all the way to when she was an adult, she was always fighting, and she was always fighting multiple men, whether it be her father or whether it be really men that just thought that they can take advantage of her because she was a woman. So she had to fight. Like all her life she was fighting, right? All her life. So it came to the point that she had built this, she had built a natural, or not natural, but she had normalized fight or flight. But she normalized more so of the fighting than the running away. So it came to a point, she was very smart. She was accepted into the best colleges. She couldn't get into the colleges because she didn't have money. Her father did not want to support her because she was sticking up for herself and defending herself from her father. So, of course, she goes into a depression and she starts taking different substances. Now, along the way of her taking different substances and concoctions, she's still fighting, right? She still has to deal with men that want to challenge her, and she also turned to prostitution. So she dealt with men that wanted to challenge her or just fight her and beat her down. She was always winning, right? So she came across one guy, and one guy wanted her services, her, for what she did in order to put food on the table, money in her pocket. She did prostitution. So he drove up, he wanted her services, and he wanted her to meet him at a certain location. Okay, goes, meets him at the location. Come to find out, it's an abandoned building, and he's in an apartment, and nobody's gonna hear her. And he's describing to her all the ways he wants to just completely end her life, right? So she automatically kicks into fight mode, and she says she's fighting him for 24 minutes. And there's a certain reason she's remembering that she's fighting him for 24 minutes, because it's a matter of life or death. It's she's either gonna die or she's gonna live. So she fights him for 24 minutes. By the time she comes out of the building, she's yelling for help. She doesn't realize it's an abandoned building, right? And so she goes up to the cops, the authorities. The authorities take one look at her, see what she's wearing. She's barely conveying a sentence, and they're just yeah, you know what? Sure, somebody's trying to end your life. We're just gonna let you off the hook for now. But if we see you on the streets prostituting yourself, you're going to jail. So then she takes a cab back to the place that she was originally, because she was originally dealing with two clients. She had a really rich client, and then she had a client that appeared like he was going to give her a lot of money, but it was just a setup because he was trying to kill her. So she goes back to her rich client, and the rich client tells her, well, maybe you should go to the hospital. She goes, I'm fine. She was running on so much adrenaline. She went to sleep. She applied the pressure because she got knocked in the head from something he had. And she applied pressure on her head, and she woke up and a pillow was stuck to her head. She had to go to the hospital, have it surgically removed, and the doctors told her if it wasn't for that amount of pressure that was applied to her head, from the brute trauma, she would have died. So once that happened, she said she was in the hospital for a couple of days, and she said it was the best sleep she ever had in her life. Now, she was going through withdrawals, right? But it was the best sleep ever. And because of that, she was... Oh yeah, and there was a moment she took a cab back and she was telling the cab driver that she didn't have the money because somebody tried to kill her. The cab driver refused to take her anywhere and said unless she performs a certain act on him, he's not going to take her back to the hotel. So she had to pull a knife out on him. But I'm remembering that moment because there was a moment where she said where she was about to lose all hope in humanity, right? Because she had just faced so much. She just faced somebody literally trying to kill her because she was who she was. That the only way she was going to be driven back to where she was originally is that if she performed acts, right? So she said at that moment she was going to lose all faith in humanity, but she didn't. So, but the level of experience that came with fighting, constantly being placed in life or death situations, right? It made her exactly who she was. And on top of that, they were able to get this guy, and they found out that that was not the first time that he had done something like that. They had been looking for this guy for a very long time, but they couldn't find him because he was living in abandoned buildings, and he would always lure whatever prostitute he chose into that place, right? And so the only difference is she was strong enough to fight him back. So something is 24 minutes, and there's something in regards to 24, like 24 hours, 24 minutes, 24 days. It's time is of the essence with whoever this is. There's no such thing as 1 minute of while they're working. There's no such thing as 1 minute of rest, because in that amount of minutes, in that 1 minute, anything can happen in those amount of seconds. So that the experience of everything you've been through, meeting somebody that understands, not only understands, but respects your level of work. That's everything, right? And you're coming from a tradition or a lifestyle where it's you really didn't choose this life. It's the life chose you, If you had to make a choice between this or a 9-to-5, you probably wouldn't choose a 9-to-5. But it probably wouldn't have been this either. But it's just when you're raised into a certain lifestyle or family, it's just you can't say no, But the card came out here, and I'm gonna express a little more on the card of what it derives from, because that was the first time in my mind I had come to the realization that earth angels come in many forms, because that wasn't the first life or death situation that she had dealt with. She also came across a guy. I think she said he was Japanese or something, but what he was doing was and this was back in the day. We didn't have the technology we use today of GPS and phones and stuff like that. This was the original streetwalkers. There was no such thing. We still had payphones on the street. There was no such thing as like calling a cell phone or tracking device, like no such thing as those things yet, or at least not to the public. But there was one guy that pulled up and he wanted her to perform like certain services, and she said, yeah, sure, fine, right? Because again, it was money in her pocket. She was able to put money in her pocket and just provide for herself whatever she wanted, right? And so as she's performing the act, he takes a hammer and he whacks her in the back of the head, right? And so the minute she like realizes that this person is trying to harm her, instantly what kicks in? Fight or flight. So she starts fighting the guy. She's going off of pure adrenaline. She starts fighting this guy and she starts beating him up with the weapon that he was going to use to kill her. And so he has to force her out of his car to stop himself from getting hurt, right? And so she took the hammer in the process. And in the process of that, when she was walking down, two cops approached her, different cops, I'm sure, but two cops approached her and said if she had seen like a guy, and they described the guy that she had just came out of the car with. And she was like, yeah, I have his hammer. And it was a long process of like having to find him because he was like very secretive about what he was doing. But they found him and they arrested him. So I said, there's no way. Like for me, when I look at instances like that, I say to myself, there's no way that God does not exist, because this woman should have been dead so many times. But she not only manages to survive and live to tell the story of her many traumatic experiences, but she also helps to catch the bad guy, right? So it's like I'm admiring her even though she does not know somebody like me exists. This is what it feels like. Like somebody admires your experience from afar, everything you've been through, whether you say it or not, or express it or not. But nobody really knows the extent to like the decisions that you've had to make for the better of humanity. But you're being admired for it. No one can stop you from living. It's time to dream and achieve. What is that? They miss the late nights and the long, deep talks. Okay. They miss. Yeah, who is this person? Is a decision maker, influential person. You're the person who was like so caught up in this person that was caught up in their mental prison, right? And thought that's like it's like something it's like I'm picking up something happening to a person so traumatic. It's just like no matter what they do, right? No matter how much money they obtain, no matter how much of a lavish, luxurious life that they live, they're always going to see it as like there's still somebody from this area at this time that did this and that in order to get to where they are, right? So, and a form of expression, like somebody's emotions are blocked because every time, like for me, when I do one of these reads and I find that my nostrils tend to flare up, that means somebody is not expressing the emotions that they should be expressing. This could be, okay, timeless message. So it could be somebody you used to make like decisions with. It's like they couldn't, they couldn't free their mind from the idea that they could be so much more than what they actually are, right? But they miss the deep talks. Like, they miss those moments of like, it's like you're able to just tune out from, I mean, very seldom that you could, right? Whoever you are. But they miss the moments where you can just tune out from the world and just have a conversation, right? Like, just the two of you. Just have a conversation about anything. Oop. And to them, it's deep. It's just like somebody realizes just how much you love, right? Like, how unconditional your love is. And it took not being able to have those deep conversations with you and those face-to-face moments with you for them to understand, like, whoa, this person really did love and made decisions for the greatest good of all. It's like this is like a sacrificial love. Like, you don't do it because it's just spur of the moment decisions. You do it because you know it benefits everybody in the long run, but you take the hit for it, right? It's like you suffer the blow to the heartache. But it's deeper than that. Like, the depths of love. It's like the depths of sacrifice in order to understand this level of love. It's like a realization. Somebody's having an epiphany about you. Okay, so let's close out the reading. It's like somebody thinking, oh, they just did it because they could do it, or they just did it because they have a position of power, or they just wanted to stroke their ego. It's like somebody is realizing, like, no, that's not the case. They genuinely did this because they loved me. They genuinely loved me, and they were looking out for me. Like, it feels like that. No one should dismiss your pain, and don't let them. Yeah. Because even though in the beginning, like while I was listening to that song before I started this reading, it was like a deep suppression of like what you or the person you're inquiring about was feeling. But they couldn't, like, the emotions were still there. It's like you can't, it's like when somebody says something that they can't really take back. It doesn't matter how many times they say sorry. It's just like you're always going to remember when they said this because they thought you had the worst of intentions. You know. This person has a really good heart and will treat you with kindness. Yeah. Okay. Right. Two more. Fate over illusions and visions over fear. A boy who dreamt and saved the school and the bomber. Okay, so, whoa. See what I mean? Okay, one more. A lot, when I was creating these cards, a lot of like the cards that I made was it's like a combinations of stories, and it's a combinations of experiences and everything that I've picked up until now at this point of life. And so what stood out to me, and I read this story when I was 15 years old in a newspaper in my school library, right? But what stood out to me more than anything was the story about the boy and the bomber. So this boy had a dream that he saw another boy his age in front of the school, and he had a bomb strapped to him, right? And he saw in the dream that he was fighting with this boy. And he wakes up, right? Now, according to what he told the reporter and what I read in the newspaper, this boy said that when he woke up from the dream, he sat in his bed and he asked God, he said, God, am I going to die? He never got an answer, never got a response. And he was, even to the point, he was scared to go to school, but he went anyway, right? So he goes to the school, and it's exactly like it is in his dream. So he sees the boy, and he sees the boy with the bomb strapped to his stomach. And he said, this is what, even at 15, I don't want to say it spooked me, but it gave me chills. He said the boy looked at him as if he was waiting for him to show up. Now, he does not know this boy, right? So he goes up to the boy. He tries to convince the boy not to do this. Do not blow yourself up. Do not blow up the school. They start to fight exactly like how it is in his dream, okay? Now, he's fighting this boy. He does not know if he's going to live. He does not know if this boy is going to set off the bomb while they're fighting. He doesn't know any of it, right? So as he's fighting this boy, somebody gets word that two boys are fighting, and there's a bomb attached to one of the boys. Moments later, police come. They are able to take the boy with the bomb, stop him from detonating the bomb, right? Remove him completely away from the school. And they're also able to save the boy who had the dream about him fighting the bomber. And for me, again, these are so many scenarios for me. I don't know about anybody else, right? I can't convince anybody else that there's a higher force, no matter how powerful they are or how insignificant that they feel. But for me, when I look at stories like that, I always think there's a higher force, much higher than anybody can conceive on earth, watching. Be it God, the universe, source, however it resonates. But I choose to believe that God is real, right? So, fate over illusions. This boy saw in his dream that he was going to fight a bomber. He was fated to fight a bomber. He lived to tell the day that he fought a bomber, saved the bomber, and the school. So, the last card that came up for you was Give Up the Ghost or Regret Awaits. What is this ghost of? This is definitely a moment of, I wish I could have prevented this whole thing from happening, right? I wish I didn't see that. I wish I wasn't there when this happened. And I can give you a personal experience. So, I work at a daycare, right? And in the daycare, I switched my shift with a coworker, and she took the 7 to 4, I took the 9 to 6. Okay, now I knew the 9 to 6 schedule was different for me. I knew I didn't really like the 9 to 6, but I said, okay, she needs help. I'm going to switch my shift, so I'll take the 9 to 6 and she can take the 7 to 4. So here's what happens. In the midst of her having my shift, she has been offered another job opportunity, right? And in the midst of having the shift and being offered the job opportunity, she puts in the 2 weeks. Now, we decide that we're going to, since she was down to 2 weeks, I mean, it's past now. What I'm telling you has already happened. But we decide that since she's going to leave in 2 weeks, we might as well keep our schedules. Now, every part of me simply wanted to go back to my 7 to 4. That's what I wanted to do. And I couldn't understand it. I said, you know what? Despite the fact that I wanted my 7 to 4, why did I even fix my mouth to say that I would keep the 9 to 6? This doesn't make any sense. So during those last 2 weeks, I was in the classroom, and after a certain point of time, when you're on a ratio or under ratio, you're left with a good amount of kids at a time. So I was left with a certain amount of kids. I'm interacting with all of the kids. I'm trying to stop the kids from hurting themselves and hurting each other, but I'm interacting. I'm making sure like everything's okay. Now, this one kid comes up to me. This kid is coughing, right? And maybe this is something in regards to logic over intuition for you. But this kid is coughing, and I'm looking at this kid, and this kid is looking at me, and this kid is coughing and coughing. And so I'm looking at the kid, and intuitively I'm thinking to myself, this kid is choking. But my logic kicked in and said, there's no way he's choking. The toys in this classroom are way too big for any of the toddlers to swallow, right? And snack time was over an hour ago. There's no food in sight. He can't possibly be choking. Logically, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm looking at him and I say, are you okay? He's not speaking, right? So I felt his heart rate. His heart rate is beating super fast. And so I take him to the front of the classroom. I call the director. The director comes over. This kid starts throwing up, right? Nothing was wrong with him. Another teacher comes over, checks his temperature. His temperature is absolutely fine. I said it in my mind again, intuitively. I said, this kid is choking, right? So, literally seconds later, the mom comes in. Is everything okay? We don't know what's wrong. He's coughing. He's not saying anything. She said, did he eat something? I said no, because snack time ended over an hour ago. There's no food in sight, right? And the toys are too big for him to swallow anything. So he goes to the car. The mom says she's just going to take him to the doctor. She puts her son in the car. The son coughs up this metal piece of an overall that was on another toddler. And she was just like, what is this, right? And we looked at it and we linked it back to the overall that was on another toddler. At the same time, we linked the metal piece back to the overall that was on another toddler. The mom for that toddler comes in, picks up her toddler and says, oh, well, we're not wearing this outfit again. Chuckles it off, walks away. I apologized to the mom. She said, it's okay. Don't worry about it. She walks away. They checked the cameras. This kid had this metal piece. I don't know how he got it in his hand. Don't know how it fell off of the overalls. Okay? But this kid had the metal piece in his hand, and he was playing with it for a good amount of time. He was in the corner of the room, sitting in the corner table, and he was playing with it. And in the back of my mind, I said, how could I have not seen that? My eyes are so sharp in attention to detail. How could I have not seen this kid was playing with a piece of metal putting it in his mouth and taking it out until he finally decided to swallow it. How did I not see that? And that level of weight, right? Nobody understands. They think it's just like oh, it could have happened to anybody. But nobody understands when it's on your watch and that happens, there's a level of weight and responsibility you place on yourself. Like there's no way. And I wish I could have prevented it, but I couldn't, right? So maybe you were wishing you could have prevented something. Something was fated to happen, right? Because now it can either transform the situation or it can transform you as a person. And I feel like that this is transforming you as a person. But I feel the way it's going to transform you is you need to talk about it, right? You need to express, even if it's to yourself. You need to express the weight that you feel that nobody else truly understands unless they're in that position to understand it. And that's your reading. Bye.